NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing. At a track where you feel it, hear it, and see it, unlike anywhere else.
Anybody that asks me when they're going to their first race, I'm sending them here.
This is the hottest ticket in NASCAR. Experience the thrills for yourself at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our Tuscaloosa studios as we have a little bit of everything for you coming up today on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll start by going through what's coming up on the show and our headlines thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in a real interactive way here on Crimson Drive. We'll start by talking with Luisa Blanco, a senior gymnast for the University of Alabama, who's putting together a tremendous season, not just for the Crimson Tide, but this is going to be a huge year for her, also competing in the 2024 Paris Olympics. We'll talk more about that with Luisa Blanco coming up. And then we'll be talking with Tom and Gray, whether they're going to talk to us. Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson, the softball broadcasters for us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. They will preview this upcoming season for Alabama softball and this weekend as the season begins for Patrick Murphy and the Alabama Crimson Tide softball team. Then we'll visit with Christy Curry, her post-game chat with Richard Hendricks and I on the Crimson Tide Sports Network after Monday's win against Vanderbilt, what turned out to be a historic win for Christy Curry. More on that coming up in a bit. And then we'll be going back to Monday night as well with a Hey Coach replay, getting to chat with Aaron Estrada from the Crimson Tide men's basketball team as he talked with Chris Stewart during Monday's edition of Hey Coach here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Speaking of men's basketball, last Saturday, a huge win, really one of the most impressive games of the season for Alabama, and a strong win against Mississippi State, 99-67 the final. Winning streak came to a close last night down on the Plains as the Auburn Tigers picked up the win 99-81 in a game where a lot of fouls were called. Tough going at times for Alabama on the road, but the Crimson Tide hope to bounce back, staying on the road this week. A really quick turnaround if you think about it. A morning start time at LSU, 11 a.m. from Baton Rouge. Our radio coverage with Chris, Brian, and Tom will start at 10 o'clock all across the network. Crimson Tide currently ranked in the top 25 in both polls at number 16. Crimson Tide women's team, if they keep winning this week, they'll certainly be ranked. Last Monday picked up a great win at Vanderbilt, 74-66 in a game where Alabama trailed by as much as 12. Huge comeback victory on the road at Memorial Gymnasium. That win was the 500th for Christy Curry in her career. She's approaching 200 wins now at Alabama alone, but still 500 wins, great milestone that we'll talk about with her coming up in a little bit. Sarah Ashley Barker continues scoring over 20 points a game for the Crimson Tide. She was named the SEC Co-Player of the Week, along with Tennessee's Jewel Spear. And speaking of Tennessee, it's Alabama, Tennessee tonight coming up at 6 p.m. We look forward to being back at home at Coleman Coliseum. Our radio coverage will start at 5:55 on the network for that tip-off against the Lady Vols. And then another note on Crimson Tide women's basketball, they will also be playing coming up on Sunday at LSU at 3 o'clock. Now over to gymnastics and softball. The gymnastics team trying to bounce back after a tight loss against Kentucky. Still some good things happened last Friday, as we'll talk about with Luisa Blanco in a moment. But this week they get to go on the road to Neville Arena, take on the Auburn Tigers at 8 o'clock on the SEC Network. Now I mentioned softball earlier with Tom and Gray coming up with their reports on the season. The season starts today for this new Crimson Tide softball team. They're in Atlanta, Georgia for the Buzz Classic. And over the course of the next 3 days, they'll take on Villanova, Longwood, and Georgia Tech, the host school of that tournament. So best of luck. It's Coach Murphy and the Crimson Tide softball team. But today on the show, we will start with gymnastics, an exclusive one-on-one conversation with Luisa Blanco, not just about her Alabama career, but some of the work she's done for Team Columbia. And speaking of work, some of the work she's done in the community as well. Here's a special one-on-one conversation with Luisa Blanco.
Luisa, Roll Tide, it's great to see you. How are you enjoying this fifth year as an Alabama senior?
I mean, this fifth year has been everything and more. I mean, I think you try to go into it with an expectation and you want everything to be absolutely perfect, but you find out that along the way, all the little moments and all the little things that you could have never imagined happen. And I mean, up to this point, it's been everything and more. So glad I came back for my fifth.
Yeah, what went into that decision last year? What were some of the different things you were thinking about? What was some of the feedback you got from other people that ultimately led you to come back?
Well, last year was a whirlwind of a season, and I mean, I'm completely open about where my heart was, especially when people ask me this question, because there was a huge coaching staff change. My world kind of flipped upside down, and I didn't have a lot of the answers. And I thought that running away was was the answer at the time. But I mean, Ashley is just one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. She's super calm and collected, and I really credit a lot of my mindset now and how I've changed my approach to responding to things like adversity and just all the crummy stuff that life throws at you. I credit a lot of that to her, and she's been a huge help. And I think just the combination of the coaching staff, Tuscaloosa being home, and my girls, I wouldn't trade them for the world. They're my family. So all those little things went into that decision, and I'm glad I came back.
Yeah, and you mentioned the coaching change, Coach Johnston coming in last season. What kind of difference have you seen between year one with a new coaching staff in place versus what you guys are going through this year with year two?
Wow. So year one, I think you all go into it collectively the best way you can. But like I said, there weren't a lot of answers. You come in with the new coaching staff, and you have to be really open and receptive to how they coach, what kind of new things they want to try, and starting new traditions, which I think is a really cool concept that Ashley is really, embedded within us, that it's okay to start new traditions. It's okay to, um, you know, honor the past but create the future. And I think just having a year under our belt just gives us confidence going into this year. We really wanted to start off the year building a foundation of trust, and we went on that team retreat this past, what was it, August, and we did some team bonding, all that fun stuff. So just little things like that, building that foundation of trust that, little by little, day by day, it builds. And you have the good days and the bad days in the gym, but they ultimately get you ready for the season. And here we are now, and I think we're carrying that out really, really well.
Going back to the retreat, what were some of the most fun team bonding activities? I'm sure there were a lot of things that got you outside of your comfort zone.
For sure. So anyone who knows me, I am deathly terrified of heights. Like, I am the type of person that I get like an anxiety attack a little bit going on like those high turnpikes when you get to the Birmingham airport. Like, you know what I mean? So I've always been afraid of heights, and I knew beforehand that there was going to be a ropes course. So I was like, there's no way I'm getting on that thing, and I just can't do it. But I just saw all my teammates doing it. My trainer, Monica, was up there. Justin Spring, he got up there and did a backflip on this log of wood 50 feet in the air. And I'm like, gosh, if he can do it like everyone's doing it, I got to be there for my team. And I think just having them there with me, I was terrified, don't get me wrong, but that was the ultimate team bonding experience for sure.
Well, going back to this past Friday, Alabama hosted the Be the Change meet against Kentucky. A lot of people at Coleman Coliseum. Just how meaningful was it to have the Be the Change meet? I know that was something that really sparked from some of your interest and the interest of your teammates. So what did it mean to you to get to see that come to life this past Friday?
For sure. I mean, the Be the Change meet has been amazing just to see it come out, just an idea that we had, after COVID started, and how we would bring it to life. And I think Ashley has been super incredible, and hearing us and hearing the vision for what we wanted to implement with this meet. And I thought it was beautiful. Especially this year, we've made it a priority to, have an hour, 2 hours within the week where we go and we find our initiatives that are close to us, and everybody has their different organization that they work with that, hits home for them. And I think it's been really cool to see that side of my teammates, because it's not just about the sport you play. It's about what you can do through your sport to impact somebody else's life. And I think that's what Be the Change is all about. I'm so happy with all the opportunities that I've had because of an idea that sparked, a couple of years ago. And I'm just glad that we got to put it all out there and do something that was bigger than gymnastics.
And for you, a lot of your work in the community has been just across the river in Northport at Flatwoods Elementary. What has that meant to you getting to interact with the students there? And I'm sure a lot of them were there on Friday night at Coleman.
It's been a full circle moment interacting with those kids at Flatwoods. I mean, I didn't know exactly how long I was looking through a lot of organizations to really find one that, spoke to my heart. And I think it was almost immediate with Flatwoods. A lot of those kids, I look into their eyes and they remind me a lot of myself when I was younger. And the moment that it all kind of changed with me was when I started speaking Spanish with the kids. And it was like a light bulb moment where they were like, oh my goodness, she looks like me and she can talk like me and she's where I would want to be. And I think representation is huge in any aspect of life, but specifically with my community, you don't see a lot of Hispanic representation, especially in sports. So I'm just glad to be another person to show them, if I can do it, they can do it too.
Who were some of those people for you when you were growing up?
I really leaned heavily on my mom. My mom did sports growing up. I mean, my whole family did, but my mom was just a rock star. She's the strongest person I know. And every time I would come home from a hard day at the gym, she told me to never quit on a good day and to always keep pushing. And I just always looked up to her. She's an incredible woman. She just defies so many odds, and she's my best friend. So I always look up to her in anything that I do.
I know your family's strong background in soccer, your mom gymnastics as well. Was she kind of the spark for gymnastics for you?
Yes, but funny enough, gymnastics was just supposed to be like super casual, like we're just gonna get her in the gym so that she's burning some energy, not jumping on the couches, sort of thing. And I had just finished soccer season, so my mom wanted me to take a break from soccer and try something new, and it stuck. I guess it got to a point where we were doing both. My mom was like, "I love you, but you got to pick." And I would say that it definitely stemmed from her a little bit, but I don't think she even could have imagined all of this.
Definitely not. Do you still love soccer? Do you still keep up with it?
I actually don't, not as much, but I'm sure like everyone, when the World Cup comes around, I'm really repping Team Colombia. That's where my family's from, and it's super exciting. I have a lot of great childhood memories attached with watching the World Cup with my parents and my brother, and yeah, it's always a big fun party when the World Cup comes around.
And then how about here at Alabama? Have you got to know some of the players on the Alabama soccer team? I mean, they've had back-to-back tremendous seasons.
Alabama soccer and gymnastics are like hand in hand. They're like that handshake emoji. I love those girls to death, and it's been so awesome because we have opposite seasons. So when they're going, we're off, and when we're on, they're going. So it's been cool. We always go out there and support them. They're rock stars, and we always hang out outside of our training facilities and everything. And I love those girls. They're awesome.
That's really cool to hear. You mentioned just a moment ago Colombia, where your family's from. You got to represent Colombia at the Pan American Games, and you earned a berth for the 2024 Paris Olympics that are coming up this summer. Just first of all, take us back to that training now on an international level. Obviously, you've done a lot of great work here in the States and for Alabama. What was it like stepping out on that international stage representing Colombia?
I don't even think I still have the words for it. People ask me all the time, how does it feel to be qualified to the Olympics? And that sentence just doesn't even feel real. I don't think it'll feel real till I'm on the plane going to Paris. But just that whole process of making the decision to go back to elite, went back to even coming back for a fifth year at Alabama. What was I going to do with this year that I wasn't supposed to have? And how am I going to, one, give back to the community, two, leave the sport without any regrets, and three, leave it all out representing the script day, and just be able to look back and know that I gave it my all. So those were the three moving pieces of the fifth year that kind of spins through my head all the time. But international elite gymnastics is no joke, and compared to college, it's really, really different. It's much more individual and a bit more cutthroat in a sense. You have to worry more about difficulties and extra rules and this, that, and the other that you don't necessarily have to worry about in college, and you don't have your teammates to back you up either. So it's definitely an adjustment. But again, I always went back to, if I look back and I have the opportunity, I don't want to be saying what if. So I said, why not? And I just went for it.
You went for it again. Great performances, allowing you to go to Paris coming up later this summer. Is it hard to kind of stay present in the moment with everything that you have coming up? Obviously, you want Alabama to have a great season. You would like to chase an SEC championship, NCAA championship, and then again, the Olympics are down the road. So, how do you stay present really week to week and then routine to routine?
I really stay grounded with the people around me. I mean, it's almost hard to not be present with this group. We are so in tune with how we're feeling. We have this self-awareness that allows us to go out there and, compete week after week. So really the Olympics is not the main priority on my mind. Somebody asked me the other day, it was like a gold medal at the Olympics or winning the national championship with your team. And I said, winning the national championship, hands down, any given day. Like these girls, it's just something special when you're all working towards something collectively and you're all going through it together. So I'm not really, Paris is definitely in my mind, but it's really far back there. My heart is with this team, and that's what allows me to be present.
Again, you represented Alabama so well, especially through the years against the Auburn Tigers. You know all about what that Alabama Auburn rivalry is all about. Had a perfect 10 on the beam against Auburn last year. What's it going to be like to go on the road to a hostile environment coming up later this week, just like the men's team in basketball is doing this week?
Oh yeah, I mean that Auburn Alabama rivalry, you really can't recreate it anywhere else. You try to just use it to the best of your ability, and feed off the crowd's energy as best you can. So I think that's our mentality moving forward with this meet is to just be focused on us. We're going to use those crazy fans and feed off of their energy, almost play off of it in a sense. I don't know if you've heard about the Gymnastics at Auburn, but they're no joke, and they'll try to get to you any way they can. So if you just feed into it, if you're playful with it, there's really nothing that can disturb your peace. So I think that's our mentality going into this week.
We've seen Alabama with good road results already this season against Florida. Do you just love the fact that now every time you travel around the league, you're seeing some sold out venues, you're seeing that, gymnastics environment? I know some other places have as well. Just how have you seen SEC gymnastics grow during your time at Alabama?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. I think just with social media and the world of NIL and people just being excited for women's sports, you can see it. People show up and it's been awesome. It gives it more meaning and you get more excited, you get more butterflies. I'm super happy with how it's growing, but I do think it'll grow even more. And yeah, I'm so proud of not just Alabama, but all the teams in the SEC. I think the SEC is one of the hardest places to compete at. You have the most competitive athletes in the country. So yeah, I guess it is true when they say it just means more.
It really does. You mentioned NIL just a moment ago, name, image, and likeness. And of course, you got to compete at a time where you didn't have name, image, and likeness rights. And then it was granted to you before 2021, 2022. Just from your perspective, I know there are a lot of different narratives out there from a lot of national media fans about NIL, but how has it impacted your time here at Alabama?
For sure. I think with anything that's out there in the world, people are either going to do good or bad with it, and it's up to you with what you're going to do with it. And I've tried to use my NIL to, you know, either give back in any way that I can and just bring awareness to the sport because that's really what it's all about. I think if you let it cloud your vision too much, that's when your performance starts to go down and all that other stuff, and it just clouds the real reason why we're here. But I do think it's opened up a lot of doors for athletes, a lot of doors that obviously haven't been there before. And it's cool to see other athletes, across the conference, paving the way for us. It's hard. Social media is a big place, and being able to make an impact like that and just bring awareness to us, our sport is ultimately what matters.
Well, before I let you go, I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of the teammates you've been able to compete with at Alabama through the years. I'll start with Makari Doggett. What has she meant to you?
Makari Doggett is like a sister to me, even more than that. I can't even imagine how I went through my life without her. She's my roommate, so I live with her. I see her every day, and she's just been a rock. She's that type of person where I don't even have to say anything to her. I can just look at her and she can calm me down. I actually had a really weird mental block a couple weeks ago where I messed up my steps on my vault. Super, super glitchy moment in gymnastics. If you're a gymnast, you know what I'm talking about, but your mind just glitches. And having her just calm me down in that moment, like, I don't think anyone else could have done it but her. She's just an amazing friend and an even more amazing teammate. And I love her. And she's a rock star. She's killing it this year.
She really is. Same could be said for another one of your good friends, Ella Burgess.
Oh my gosh. So Ella, she's my best friend as well. But with her, it's different because we both went through this crazy journey together. We both graduated high school early and, said, why not? And I'll never forget when we first got here. It didn't even feel real. We got here, we moved into the dorms. I don't even know, 10, 11 days later, we were competing at Auburn and suddenly we were a college gymnast. And she makes me a better person and a better athlete. She pushes me to be better. She inspires me more than you'll ever know. She's the most resilient person. And I love her so much. And she has grown so much this year, being a fifth year and saying, I don't care. I'm going to do floor. I'm going to beat the odds and just keep pushing through. And I think that just speaks a lot about her character. And I'm so proud of the person she's become.
Really great scores from all of you. And as we continue this season, just what is this Alabama team capable of?
So much. I mean, I know you hear that a lot, but like I told you in the beginning, we just set out to build a foundation of trust. And when you go out there and you might not even be the person competing, but when your heart is out there with that person who is, it changes everything. It gives you energy. It gives you something special that the other teams just don't have. And you don't want to be the team that's peaking right now or who's number one in the rankings or this, that, and the other. You want to be the team that when you look back on this, like those special moments are going to be what matters the most, not necessarily the accolades or the titles or the rings or the this, that, and the other. So I think this team has that. And we have the talent and we have the hunger and we have that competitive drive and that playful energy that you just can't recreate. So I think that's what makes us special. And I think that's what's going to carry us out through the entire year.
Alabama fans are looking forward to that. Well, Luisa, Blanco, thank you so much for your time with us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Just all the best with what's coming up for you and the Alabama gymnastics team. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate the time of Luisa Blanco joining us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We look forward to next week's conversation coming up with Ella Burgess as well. You heard Luisa get a little emotional talking about Ella, so we have the chance to flip the script coming up next week when Ella Burgess will join us here on Crimson Drive. If you've been watching the show for the last few years, you know that about once a month we always check in with our softball broadcasters, Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson, to get their thoughts, not just on Alabama softball, but they also talk about softball in the SEC. We know they like to throw in movie ideas and thoughts and commentary all over the place there as well. Usually when they're with us, they behave, though. They host the Out of the Box podcast, have a lot of great content there, but they always join us here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, to give us the latest on the Crimson Tide. No better time to do that than on opening day for Alabama softball 2024.
Thank you so much, Roger. I'm Tom Canterbury. That's Gray Robertson. And Gray, it is softball time once again. Happy softball to you.
Happy softball, Tom. How thrilling it is that we get to talk about this wonderful sport on podcasts, on the air, in a variety of capacities, starting Thursday and just all the way up until like June. We love it.
Yep, it is. It does get on your way here. Actually, later on today, the Tide taking on Villanova is part of the Buzz Classic over in Atlanta. You can hear that right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. We'll go over the entire schedule in just a little bit for all weekend long as the Tide opens up with 5 games over in Atlanta. But taking a look at Alabama this year, Gray, we have to answer a question that we haven't had to answer for the last 5 years. What does Alabama look like without Montana Fouts in the circle? She was obviously so great for Alabama for so long, but Patrick Murphy and company have done a really good job of trying to, if not just replace her, at least replace her production in the circle.
Right. And I think that's why we're going to see Alabama really utilize the entire pitching staff this year. Patrick Murphy's been very open about, hey, we've got 6 pitchers. They all do something different. They all do something really, really well. We're going to use that. And that makes Alabama a difficult team to scout. You've got someone like Caleb Beaver, who had such a great career, 4 years at Central Arkansas, coming in for one go around with the Crimson Tide. She's getting to live out her dream, grew up an Alabama fan, getting to be a part of this program now. Someone like an Ailey Johnson transferring in from LSU, who's got just a wicked changeup. You've got the returners in Lauren Essman, the lefty, who's got a really good curve and can be a matchup nightmare. Alex Salter, who we've seen have some absolutely dazzling moments throughout her career. And if she can put that together, then there's a lot that she can do. Jayla Torrance burst onto the scene in the NCAA tournament with career performances. And if that Jayla shows up this year, then look out. But the name that a lot of Alabama fans are going to look to, and I think are going to be learning quickly, is the freshman Jocelyn Brisky. I have made a lot of comps about 2019 and that year with this team. And one comp was there was this freshman that came in 2019 named Montana Fouts. Now, I'm not saying Jocelyn Brisky is Montana Fouts. That's a lot to put on a youngster. But Jocelyn Brisky has shown us in scrimmages, in practice, in fall ball, that she's got the goods. And if she can deliver at a consistent rate throughout her career, but certainly in this freshman season, then you've got a pitching staff that you feel really, really good about, with Lance McMahon, the pitching coach, at the helm, making everybody better.
And it's going to be a new look also in the starting lineup as well, 1 through 9 in the order. We have a few big returners that we'll talk about, but there's a lot of going to be some either new faces or faces, people that maybe were role players in the past, but they're going to be an everyday starter here this year.
Yeah, I think somebody like Kristen White, who is trying to get back from an injury that she had. Patrick Murphy talked about it at media days. She had a little minor surgery. If she misses opening weekend, it's probably not going to be a lot more time than that. But she's someone who we saw kind of in and out of a lineup all last year and then solidified down the stretch. I could see her as Alabama's leadoff hitter for a good portion of the year. Larissa Pruitt, who was kind of in and out of a lineup early and then in, but doing okay, and then really came on strong at the end of the regular season. She's going to be a focal point this season. Abby Dukeshire is someone who's going to get a good bit of time over at first base. Marley Giles, Riley Valentine, they've been competing behind the plate all off season. They're going to get a lot of looks opening weekend and throughout the year. So, you factor in those folks, you factor in the freshman Lauren Johnson, the other freshman besides Jocelyn Brisky, with the returners. Alabama's got a lot of options in the lineup, and it's really going to be about matchups and something that Patrick Murphy can utilize this year. Who's hot? Who's hitting well? Who's playing really, really good softball? Those people will get chances to start as the year goes on. And I think you've got a lot of options about who those folks could be as the season continues.
And a lot of experience coming back as well. You have a large senior class of 9 people led by Jenna Johnson, the 5th-year senior in the outfield, and Bailey Dowling on the infield.
Yeah, Bailey Dowling, Jenna Johnson, they have been stalwarts throughout their careers, different career trajectories. Bailey had such a good start to her freshman campaign that was derailed by injury that knocked her out. And since then, she's shown the pop, but not necessarily the consistency offensively. And I think if you can get a little bit more batting average consistency to go along with the home runs and the RBIs and the production, then Bailey Dowling becomes one of the most dangerous bats in this conference. Jenna has grown so much from last year and certainly from the start of her Alabama career. She's now able to utilize all parts of the park. For much of her career, it was a lot of pull, a lot of down the left field line from the right-handed batter's box. But now we're starting to see her go oppo, smoke middle, still utilize the pull side. She's become a more well-rounded hitter, and that's why I think she is someone that we're going to be talking about a lot as the year goes on as kind of an under-the-radar superstar for this Alabama team. I wouldn't be shocked if she's lead off. I talked about Kristen White, but if White's out, I wouldn't be shocked if Jenna Johnson is leading off opening weekend. And if it goes well, maybe she continues to be in that spot.
And a couple of transfers that have been looking really good in both fall and spring practice has been Riley Valentine, who transferred over from Texas A&M, and Kendall Clark, who moves up in divisions from junior college, but she has definitely made her presence felt here in practice as well.
Riley's got just really, really, really good potential with the bat. And it's all about, kind of similar with Bailey, the consistency. Can she make sure that even if she's not productive, that the outs are productive, if you know what I mean? If it's an out, it's got to do something good. And when she's able to get bat on ball and find a gap, get it over the fence, there's a lot to like when Riley Valentine is in the box. Kendall Clark is someone that I have really been impressed with these last couple of weeks, coming up from Des Moines Area Community College, an absolute star, an All-American at that level. And so the biggest question is, well, okay, you're doing it at that level. Can you do it in the SEC? Can you do it against D1 pitching? And in the fall, it looked like she was still trying to figure it out. But in the last couple scrimmages against Alabama pitching, which is by definition SEC and D1, Kendall Clark has been hitting bombs, finding ways to get on base. She's been really, really productive, and that has impressed me. Another thing, every time I leave the field, I see Kendall Clark in the cages after practice working. She's putting in the work, and she's a very, very coachable kid that I think is a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for Patrick Murphy. She's going to, for the most part, play in the outfield, but you can have her as a DP. Perhaps maybe a little work at first base if need be. But I think that's kind of a subtle secret weapon for Alabama this year, Kendall Clark, if she can continue to develop and get more comfortable playing softball at this level.
Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson, giving you a quick Alabama softball season preview as we get underway here this weekend in the Buzz Classic over in Atlanta, hosted by Georgia Tech. And Gray, something that Alabama hasn't had to deal with a whole lot in the past, a little bit of a coaching staff shuffle. If you haven't been paying attention here in the off season, Allison Habits, after 25 years as the associate head coach, has retired, but bringing in a true name did Patrick Murphy, somebody that if you're an Alabama softball fan, if you remember that 2012 national championship, a name that will certainly ring true for you.
Yeah, Kayla Bro is here. Along with Dylan, the greatest child in the world. But, and Kayla Bro also, what has she been doing since those playing days? Well, she's been in softball. She's been coaching at the high school level, and she's been working on TV with ESPN. And if you talk to Kayla Bro, a lot of what she has garnered from the softball world, she's able to bring to Alabama. She's studied these teams. She has seen how different programs do it. And she comes in with a wealth of knowledge already, but those experiences seeing softball out of a unique lens all across the country just adds to her coaching repertoire. She's been a natural fit. We love Allison Habits, and her retirement was sad for us, but we're glad that she's doing well, taking care of her family down in Louisiana. And shout out, Allison Habits is also making her TV debut this weekend on ESPN Plus with the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And I'll be tuned in for that. I love, and I can't wait to see Allie on television. But having Bro at Alabama has done so much for the outfielders, for the overall mentality of this team. She's just a perfect fit to this coaching staff. And man, I've been so impressed by everything that our friend Coach Bro has done since arriving in Tuscaloosa.
And Adam Arbor getting the promotion as well, as named as the official hitting coach for the Crimson Tide.
Which is huge. And Patrick Murphy has been very open about this as well. Last couple of years, when there hasn't been a true hitting coach, everybody's kind of been a hitting coach. And we've talked about how that's helpful in some respects, but one way where it hurts is it's a lot of voices. And Patrick Murphy has been very, very outgoing about the fact that the players like having one voice when it comes to hitting. They have one voice that they listen to. They have one person talking to them about their mechanics and about certain aspects of their swing. And I think having Adam be that voice is something that the team has really, really enjoyed. A very relaxed person who is able to communicate with them in a unique way. And I'm excited to see how the offense looks with Adam at the helm.
So the field coming up at the Buzz Classic again, starting this afternoon, Villanova, Longwood, and the host Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Just a couple of real quick things that we'll be looking for from the Alabama opponents here this weekend.
Well, you've got two teams that are picked to win their conference in Longwood and Villanova. Georgia Tech, they're hosting, they're at home. It's opening weekend. They're going to come out on fire. That's a Georgia Tech team that's got some good arms in Blake Nelliman, Chandler Dennis, in the circle. They've got a lot of returners offensively, so they're going to be a tough task. But man, Villanova, I think today's game, right? Opening day, I think that this Villanova contest might be the one that pushes Alabama the most. You've got a sophomore pitcher in Cat Gallant, who we saw this summer, who was a heavily accoladed freshman with Nova last year. They've got a former player of the year in the Big East and Test Sites. They've got a lot of returners as well. And then Longwood, I mean, shoot, they're the Dragon Slayers. I mean, they took down Florida State opening weekend last year. They took down Duke in the middle part of the season in 2023. So all of these teams are going to be tough. And as Alabama learned last year, you cannot take anybody lightly, no matter when you're playing them, no matter who they are, no matter where you are. You've got to come with your A game. And the Tide will see some challenges this weekend in Atlanta. It might not seem super marquee. None of the opponents have a number in front of their name, but it is by no means a cakewalk for the Tide this weekend.
So those game times and opponents coming up later on today. It's Alabama against Villanova, and the airtime is going to be 4:50 on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Tomorrow, it's going to be an early start, 9:50 the airtime for Alabama and Longwood, followed by Georgia Tech and the Crimson Tide at 2:50 will be the airtime for that one. And then Saturday's doubleheader, a 12:20 airtime for Alabama and Longwood, followed up immediately by Alabama and Georgia Tech to wrap things up over in Atlanta. Should be a lot of fun, and just excited to get back on the diamond and watch Team 28 take the field, Gray.
Excited to be back. Excited to be back with you, partner. Congratulations, 10 years as the voice of Alabama softball. And it's a thrill to me that I got to be a part of 8 of them, or this will be the 8th. And I can't wait for this weekend and the entire season. And Alabama fans, I hope that you enjoy the journey as well. Softball this year is as hectic as we've ever seen. The SEC is as hectic as we've ever seen. But this team has a chance to do something really cool if they come together and if all of you out there support them. And I can't wait to get rolling. Let's go.
And just a reminder that for the first couple of months of the season, we are on our Tuscaloosa affiliate, 97.5 FM MeTV. You can download that app if you're not in the Tuscaloosa area and stream every game all season long. And then once we get into April, we'll be on Varsity app with all the other Alabama sports. But we hope that you'll join us from day one. That's coming up later today. Again, Alabama taking on Villanova in Atlanta. 4:50 the airtime on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. He's Gray Robertson. I'm Tom Canterbury, and we'll talk to you in just a couple hours on CTSN.
NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing at a track that's built to thrill you all weekend long. It's the hottest ticket in NASCAR, and it's only at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Always great to hear from Tom and Gray. Best of luck on the call this weekend for Alabama softball. Don't forget, baseball's right around the corner. We'll be talking baseball a lot on next week's edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge night for Christy Curry on Monday as the women's basketball team had a come-from-behind win on the road at Vanderbilt. Think about this for a moment. Crimson Tide in program history only had one win at Memorial Gymnasium prior to Coach Curry joining the Crimson Tide. Now she's had 4 wins in a row in that building. Just a remarkable winning streak that Alabama's had against Vanderbilt. Great comeback on Monday night, and after the game was over, she joined Richard Hendricks and I for a post-game conversation here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Coach, your team trailed by as much as 12 in this ball game. How did this group come back and win this game in Nashville?
You know, it was unbelievable, just gritty effort. I thought we rebounded the ball much better. We only had 3 offensive rebounds, I think, at half, and so we're able to get 11. But what an unbelievable effort by Sarah Ashley and Loyal and Aaliyah and just Carly. I just can't say enough. Play after play. We just kept trying to tell them to get 3 stops in a row, and we're fortunate to finally rebound the ball better and not give them second chance points and get our transition game going. We were most open when we could get the 3 in transition. So really proud of our kids for the gritty effort today.
Sarah Ashley Barker, time and time again, we talk about her scoring, but it's just the little things she's able to do to will this team to victory, it seems.
There wasn't a lot of us that had to say much at half. She was unbelievable. She's an unbelievable competitor. She's one of the most competitive people I've ever been around, and it's really special to have that in your locker room. And I thought Aaliyah was unbelievable. She said some hard things, and I thought we played a much better third and the fourth. We still were really slow there starting the third, but it's a really hard place to play, and I just credit our kids. Everything in the league is hard, right? And so if we could just stay together, I'm just really proud of the grit today.
Essence Cody got in some foul trouble relatively early on in the second half of play, but was able to stay in this ball game for a long time. That's got to be encouraging as a freshman.
It was, you know, and I thought that maybe that third foul, I don't know, but gracious, you know, bless her heart. But I thought she finally got some big boards. You know, we made a couple of baskets, got a free throw. Just kept trying to challenge our five, so we were really struggling to guard Washington, as you guys saw. We were bringing the double off the passer. We stopped that because we were giving up threes, and I just thought essence, and we had to do it by committee today, but credit our 5 players for playing some big minutes for us across the board.
So the Crimson Tide with this win, now 5-4 in SEC play, and I know you don't want to talk about yourself too much, but we have to mention this: 500 career victories for you in 25 seasons. Just what does it mean to you to continue to lead this basketball program and reach another milestone?
Well, I'm just more happy about the win tonight, you know, and it's always been about we over me. You know, Kelly's been there every step of the way. So that's pretty special to me. But I think at the end of the day, it's about all the people. It's all the we's. You know, it's our players, it's our staff, it's the support staff. It's just, for years, you know, I've been really blessed, and administrations that have believed in us, and we're not done. So, you know, hopefully we can get a whole bunch more, and especially this year. I'm just most proud today of the way these kids won this game. That was an incredible effort down the stretch.
Coach Curry, congratulations on the victory. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Thursday against Tennessee. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
So that was Monday in Nashville, and Monday in Tuscaloosa. We had Hey Coach presented by Alpha Insurance at Baumhauer's here in T-Town, and we had a great conversation not only with the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nate Oates. We also heard from Gymnastics, Ashley Johnston and Lily Hudson, but we also heard from men's basketball's Aaron Estrada as he joined Chris Stewart at the restaurant to talk about his decision to join the Crimson Tide and what this season has meant to him. Here's a Hey Coach replay from Monday night's edition of Hey Coach.
It is great to have the pride of Woodbury, New Jersey in the house with us tonight. Aaron Estrada, good to see you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me, man.
Graduate transfer from Hofstra. You've been in the South a few times as a visitor, but tell us how you enjoyed home. I guess a lot less snow than what you're accustomed to, right?
Yeah, the weather and everything is a lot different out here. You know, it's extremely, in the summer it was extremely hot. I definitely wasn't used to that.
Right.
But yeah, I've been adjusting well, and it's been pretty fun.
Yeah. Tell me about the boot camp thing, because Coach did the, and I don't know if he didn't call it boot camp, but what's the mental toughness, the team building thing you guys did, where you got the fatigues and all that stuff going on. That looked like it may have been fun in theory and fun when you started, but I could tell soon into it you guys weren't having a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was really just like a mental battle for us with that stuff. It was teaching us how to, you know, build team chemistry when there's adversity hitting us, you know, when things aren't going our way. So during that retreat, we really learned a lot about our team. We learned a lot about each other individually, and we shared some stories too to get closer to as a team. So yeah, I feel like it helped us a lot.
I was going to say it had to. I mean, 9 new players, scholarship players on the roster this year, 3 returnees from last year that were on scholarship. Yeah. And yet you guys have been able to blend. I mean, literally guys from all over the country. How have you been able to make it all work?
I just think that comes from how we are with each other off the court. I feel like we built a great bond, you know, starting from when everybody first got here at the end of May. We kind of was always with each other. We kind of had a lot of team morale that we kind of set up, you know, as soon as we got here, like I said. So I feel like that is ultimately just playing a part in why we're so close and why we're able to gel so well on the court.
So you start your career at Oregon, but you finish at Hofstra and have a great career there. But you got an extra year. You got one more year you can play as a grad student. So put yourself in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Tell us, I think I know, but I want to hear your answer for why Alabama, why Tuscaloosa?
Mainly I would say because Coach Oates is just a winner. You know, I wanted to be a part of a winning program. I wanted to be a part of like a family-oriented culture. And during my visit, the hospitality and how the coaches were and everybody on the staff were to my family, that really meant a lot to me. And that was probably my best visit too. So that's like a reason why I came here. And then for like the basketball part of it, I just like the style of play. You know, they play fast, up and down, shoot a lot of threes, and that's kind of what I wanted to play for. So.
And hopefully making a lot of threes. We're going to need them on Wednesday night. I mean, you're you got a taste of the Iron Bowl, but you did it with the friendly crowd. you know what you're going into Wednesday, or at least you've been told, but kind of hard to prepare for that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played at Auburn yet, so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I could, have a picture of what to expect, but I haven't played there, like I said, so I really don't know until I actually play in it. So,
well, we hope it's a lot of fun, a lot of success. We know it's going to be a lot of noise, but we also know you guys are going to be able to handle it. Aaron, great to see you. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Glad to have you at Alabama, and glad it's going so well.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Aaron Estrada, the graduate transfer from Woodbury, New Jersey, joining us here on.
Well, it's time to wrap up this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, but we want to take a look at what's coming up across the network, thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles with their weekend update. Of course, Wickles Pickles, they are wickedly delicious. You can find out more at wickelspickles.com. We have the relish with us here on set today, just absolutely delicious. It's almost hot dog season with softball and baseball starting, so make sure you grab some Wickles Pickles. And again, you can find out more at wickelspickles.com. Let's see what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Well, we will be busy later tonight. First of all, Alabama women's basketball at 6 p.m. against Tennessee. And then at 5 o'clock, starting just before that, it will be softball starting its season against Villanova. We look forward to the broadcast of Tom and Gray for Alabama softball over the next few days. Tomorrow, our television shows like normal, the Nate Oates Show and Tide TV this week. And then also tomorrow morning, you can listen to Alabama softball against Longwood at 10 a.m., 3 o'clock against Georgia Tech. And then coming up on Saturday, a busy day, an early start as well for men's basketball. 10 a.m. will be the air time for that 11 a.m. tip-off in Baton Rouge between Alabama and LSU. Then softball later on that day against Longwood and Georgia Tech to round out the Buzz Classic. Then on Sunday, it'll be women's basketball also in Baton Rouge to take on the Tigers. 3 p.m. will be the start time coming up from the Maravich Center. Then on Monday night, we will have another edition of Hey Coach. And again, next Thursday, a new edition as well of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR as we look ahead to next week's Wickles Weekend Update. We're going to have baseball on there. Alabama baseball will start the 2024 season coming up next Friday against Manhattan. Again, that's your upcoming schedule presented by Wickles Pickles. And that's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to Luisa Blanco, who joined us at the top of the show for a one-on-one conversation. Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson for their great softball preview, and we wish them all the best coming up, along with Coach Murphy for the softball season. Christy Curry joined us on the radio following the win at Vanderbilt. Remember, it's Alabama, Tennessee in women's basketball tonight. And then Aaron Estrada from our Hey Coach replay. Best of luck to Aaron and the Crimson Tide on Saturday against LSU. Thanks to Ethan Carabin. He put this entire show together. Thanks to all of you for watching. This has been Roger Hoover with you from Tuscaloosa. Now let's get ready for a fun weekend of Alabama athletics. Thank you again for watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.